everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Christina and today is a video that has been in the making for a while. So today's video is going to be my deployment tips video, or how to survive deployment. As you guys know, I am a military spouse and my husband is deployed. Currently, we are getting very close to when he's going to be coming back, so while I'm no expert, I don't feel like I'm a novice either. So I feel like I actually have some good tips. I think some tips that will help. A lot of these are going to be tips that you guys hear over and over again, but I would like to give some contextual value to them. So before I jump into all of the tips, definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button. I do upload every single day, Monday through Friday at random times, so definitely make sure to hit the bell notification. And now let me just hop in to the tips. So my number one tip, and I think probably the most important and the overarching tip that you need, is set goals. Now, I know this probably seems really like rudimentary and you're like, well, yeah, duh, of course, set goals. I mean like go full on New Year's resolution style goals. For me, one of my major goals was I wanted to lose 20 pounds before my husband got back. I'm not quite there yet. I do have a little bit more time, but I am close. I like to blame our road trip across country and also having copious amounts of wedding cake left for I gained a lot of weight right after we got married. And I wanted to lose it. I wanted to get back to the weight I was at when we started dating, so I wanted to lose about 20 pounds. I've lost 13 pounds as of right now, and I'm really happy with that amount of weight loss, but of course I have a few more pounds to go. But that was one of my major goals because that's something that you do long term. That's not a quick goal. That's not something that can be accomplished easily. And that's what I mean. I mean set up goals like you would New Year's resolutions, things that you're going to work on for a long period of time because it gives you something to actively work towards while your husband's away. So that was one of my major goals. I think another thing with this idea and with this tip is you can also make collective goals. So between me and my husband, our collective goal was we wanted to pay off our debts. With deployment, you know, there's extra money coming in from deployment. So one of our collective goals was obviously to, you know, help our finances. And we actually reached our goal on what we wanted to accomplish as far as our finances this year. And we hit it pretty fast. And so we were very thrilled. Because of that, we were able to put money towards going to Hawaii because we never really technically got a honeymoon. So it all worked out. We ended up hitting goals that we wanted to, and overall I think it helped morale a lot too, because obviously deployment is not easy, so that definitely helped a lot. Second tip that I have is communication, and to communicate effectively I think is the major key factor here, because, oh guys, it can get tough. Now, there are different circumstances as to how often you're going to be able to communicate. I know I have a friend whose husband is deployed on a ship, and communication isn't always as frequent as they would like, just because, you know, they're on a boat in the middle of the ocean. It's not always the easiest to get in touch with someone. I've been very lucky. I've been able to talk to my husband basically every day if I want to, because they have Wi-Fi all over base. It's pretty easy. It's pretty accessible. Just keep that in mind when it comes to your situation, that it may not be the same as mine, but for me, talking every day wasn't always a good thing. It really depends. Now, I feel like for the most part, me and my husband are really good at communicating. We're pretty good about voicing what we need to voice in a way that doesn't cause fights. But there has been a couple times through this deployment we've had, I wouldn't call them fights. It's just where you're so emotionally drained that you nitpick and you start getting like aggravated or annoyed. And the first like couple times that happened, it really threw us off our game. It really threw us off. We were both having a really bad week on each of our ends. And so when we would talk and communicate, it was just frustration all over. And it was just really hard to voice what was going on because obviously one person's here and one person's there. And it's just hard to like understand everything fully. So when it would come to stuff like that, we would try to figure out why we were upset, talk about it, and then we would give each other like a couple days to cool off, where we didn't talk just because we needed to deal with things on either end. We wouldn't do that though without first resolving our issues, because since everyone is so far apart, I feel like leaving issues undone and unsaid actually causes me and him a little bit more stress. So that completely depends up to you guys. If you have an argument and you feel like you need to cool down and step away, do so. Usually if we did that, we would, you know, still resolve it by the end of the night and just like take a breather and then come back and then just decide when we're going to talk to each other again. That way we're not overloading each other. It's very hard to balance two different lives, two different emotions on two different sides of the world effectively through a phone call all the time. So if you don't need to talk every day, don't. Set up times when you're going to talk, and I think it will help. I just think communicating effectively and communicating well, not constantly talking about drama, not constantly talking about how sad you are, not constantly bickering about the fact that you hate deployment, it's not going to help any. You're still going to have to deal with all of these things, and stressing out your partner is not going to help them at all, because no matter how bad we feel at home and how lonely we get at home, it's 10 times worse for them, because they probably don't want to be there for as long as they're there away from you either, and they still have to work pretty much 24/7 for however long they're deployed. Just keep that in mind. We don't need any extra stress on our partners. And also, with communicating effectively, just know not all days are going to be good. Like I said, me and my husband have had a few rough patches. Nothing really bad, we've never really fought with each other to the point where it's been like unbearable. It's mainly just been frustration and us being, again, overworked emotionally on each end. And then there's also times where you just feel overall a sense of loneliness from communicating. I know there's been plenty of times where we've gotten off the phone and I've sat there and you just get lonely, you miss them. So there's also that side to communicating as well. And there's been times when me and my husband have gotten off the phone and I've just cried. And I've cried a lot during this deployment. A lot of you guys have been giving me props and telling me how awesome and strong I am, but you guys haven't seen all of the times I've cried. Sometimes I cry for no reason. So yeah, there's definitely been that too, and that's okay. It's okay to cry, it's okay to let it out, it's okay to watch really sad movies on purpose, because you know if you get the crying out, it won't randomly sneak up on you. I do say the crying diminishes the longer the deployment goes on, just because you get kind of used to it, but the beginning of deployment, oh yeah, you're gonna cry. Just let it out, girl. Just let it out. So tip number 3 is one that I discovered pretty early on in the deployment, and this is probably a personality fault or a personality quirk with me, but when I get really sad, I literally don't do anything. I put everything that should be done to the side. I start procrastinating. I start not caring. I just overall have a complete sense of ambivalence to everything. So something I learned really early on in the deployment, for me at least, is keep your space clean. My mother would yell at me so much if she knew how bad this apartment looked at the beginning of deployment. So that was something with me, and I don't really hear anyone talk about this because this is probably just something with me again, is that when I get really sad, I put everything off and things add up. So I discovered pretty dramatically that I literally let this apartment get to just abysmal levels of grossness. I hadn't done the dishes, I was putting off doing laundry, I was putting off just cleaning in general. So that was something I learned, is keep it clean and you'll feel a lot better, because it was definitely affecting my mood to where I would wake up every morning and I would just be so overwhelmed with not only the deployment, with the overall sense of loneliness, and also with the state of my living conditions. And since I do work from home and I do YouTube from home and I do a lot of things at home, it became very, very clear that keeping my space clean was going to help me overall in the long run. So I know, again, this probably seems like a weird tip, especially if you're a clean freak, or if you're the opposite of me, that when you're stressed you clean a lot. I again, I'm not like that. But if you're like me and you need to hear this, keep your place clean, girl. Keep it clean. It will help. I promise. I promise. And basically, because I have this personality to where when I'm really, really upset, I don't clean, I just started implementing small changes at first instead of trying to overwhelm myself. So every day I woke up and I was like, make your bed. Like, as soon as you get out of bed, before you brush your teeth, make your bed. Don't even stop. Like, don't even stop to think about it, just make it. So now I make my bed every morning. This is a habit that, like, I typically do have, but when I was really sad, I noticed I wasn't even making my bed anymore, which is weird for me. And then after that, I would wake up, I would brush my teeth, you know, get ready for the day. My big problem too was, like, I would make coffee and then my coffee cups were everywhere. So I just made it a point, when I'm done with my coffee, put your coffee cup in the dishwasher. Don't put it in the sink, because that was another issue. I was starting to pile dishes up into the sink instead of just putting them into the dishwasher. So little tips there. Just make small changes at first and eventually it becomes a lot easier. Another thing too is I live on a 3rd floor apartment, so like taking the trash out got really annoying, because typically that is my husband's job, because, you know, I don't want to do any heavy lifting. So that was another adjustment I had to do, and I just, you know, when I had to take Wallace out for a walk, just take the garbage out too. Just do it at once. It's less of a hassle then, and just start implementing that every so often. So The next tip kind of goes hand in hand with keeping your space clean, and it's just find what relaxes you. So after I got my apartment back into a state of actual livability, I started implementing things that would relax me more, because once the space was clean, my mind was a lot more clear, and then I could focus on things to actually get my mind off of the stresses of deployment. So for me, it turned into, I started plants. Well, you can't even see my plants in this video right now, but I started getting into learning how to take care of plants. I started bringing in house plants. It brought in more, fresh air and just green, and it just made the space more alive, and it really relaxed me. I love my plants. I love my plants so much. I also started just, I have a wax diffuser now and an oil diffuser. I go back and forth between those. I have candles. I just go with, pick a scent that smells good, have it going, wake up in the morning, make your coffee, start your wax diffuser or your oil diffuser, and just like get good vibes in the room essentially. And then I am a nerd, a lot of you guys know this, so if video games relax you, play video games. I have a really nice gaming computer. We have a PlayStation 4, I have my 3DS still, and we have a Switch. Just find what relaxes you. If it's reading a book, if it's drawing, if it's going to a pottery class, anything, just find what will get you the most relaxed and the least likely to think about the fact that your husband is deployed. What I found that when I was doing things that relaxed me, it almost felt like a normal day, and in my head I could just be like, oh, my husband's just at work. I'm just relaxing, he's at work, he'll be home any minute now. And I just kind of kept that mentality every day. Every day, recycling, oh, I do this, I work, and then I relax. Oh, I do this, I work, then I relax. And it just kept cycling. And so I think finding those items that relax me at the end of the night especially is what really, really helped me just get through day by day by day without thinking too much about it. This goes into my next tip, which is do not count down. I think it's just a really good idea just to get into a routine of things. Like I said, you wake up, go to work, do your work, and then relax. And I just got into that routine constantly, every day. For the most part, it was a pretty steady routine. Every now and again, I would do different things to like spice it up. But it was just so important to stay in that routine and not to count down the days. If I had counted down the days, I think I would have pulled all my hair out. I would be sitting here bald right now because it just wouldn't have worked. It would have been way too overwhelming. And deployments can range from 6 months to a year. And that's just way too many days to count down. What I found helped is to get about halfway through deployment, and then you can start looking at the weeks. So about halfway through deployment, start counting down the weeks. And then I'd say a month before deployment ends, then start counting down the days, because then it's not so bad and then it can be quite exciting. And I find that that is most effective, but don't start counting from the beginning. Don't count down the days until the very end, because you will drive yourself crazy and you will just be constantly stuck in a loop of, oh my God, this is going to drag on forever. So don't do that to yourself. Another way to help is my next tip, and that is find support friends. Now this could be through other military spouses or just your friends that you have in the area. For me, it was very difficult because we literally moved to California, which was across country for us, and he literally deployed not long after that. We didn't have much of a chance to make like a group of friends to hang out with, and I'm not overly invested in military life because we don't live on base, so I'm not constantly around other military spouses. So because of that, there are ways to make friends with military spouses. There are military like spouse pages on Facebook. Be very careful with those. I was actually in a couple. I left both of them because when drama starts in those, they will drag you down with them, especially depending on the level of drama. If someone gets involved in stuff, everyone on the list can get in trouble, and I'm not very interested in getting my husband in trouble because I was on a page with some drama that gets everyone in trouble. So just be very careful with the wives groups. I'm really not a fan of it. I'm really not... Guys, I saw some ridiculous things going on those pages, so I left all of the wives groups. I've met other military spouses through other means though. There's lots of ways to meet people. You can also just make friends in like gym classes or joining a book club. There's lots of ways to meet people, and it depends on your level. I'm very introverted. I know a lot of you guys think is weird because obviously I'm here putting myself out on the internet, but I am very introverted. I take a really long time to open up to people, so for me it's always been very difficult to make friends just because I am an INFJ and I don't open up to anyone, so it's very hard for me to make friends. So it has been a little bit more difficult, but I have found a nice support group of friends that has really helped me. I also have some family that are also military that moved to the area literally right before I did, so that has been a blessing because I'm very, very family oriented, so that has helped. Anything that helps, you at least need to have one person to vent to when you need to. Trust me, it helps. Even if you aren't much of a venter, there will be at least one time when you need someone to understand where you're coming from. So just make sure to have at least that one friend who understands you, or at least listens to you when you need it, because it will help so much. Next tip is another one that I think is pretty basic and basically everyone knows about them, but it's care packages. So care packages are so beneficial for not only us, the people at home, but also for our spouses. I think it's more important for the spouses, obviously, because it gives them a touch of home. It gives them some, you know, home comforts. You can send them letters, you can send them gifts of all sorts of things. I've sent Michael like video games for his Switch. I've sent him cookies because the man can't resist a chocolate chip cookie. I've sent him all kinds of things, just things, you know, boost morale, because I think that's a big thing I think we forget over here at home, is that they are literally 24/7 working, basically. When I used to work for like restaurants or when I worked retail, I would get mad if I had to work 12 days in a row. They literally work for months in a row, and like, yeah, they get some days where it's more leisurely or they have half days, but basically they work every day, and I think that's really hard for us to remember. So care packages are so important for them, and like I said, it makes me feel better too. I feel like care packages are good for both parties just because it makes me feel good knowing that I can do something to help him out even though I'm so far away, and then for him it just gives him that little sense of comfort of being back home, or something to remind him of home. I loved sending cards. I love writing, so like I would write him nice little cards to send. I would send pictures, I would tell him a funny story, or I would tell him how much I love him, just anything to like boost morale. Also, care packages can completely work the other way around too. If you have Amazon Prime, you can send gifts from anywhere in the world to someone in the world. So my husband was actually very good about also sending me care packages, which really helped me because I would, again, have those low moments where you just feel really lonely, and he would send me things off of Amazon. He would order flowers. He sent me a nice flower arrangement around Valentine's Day. So care packages can definitely work the other way. Of course, that is as long as they have access to Wi-Fi, but if they do, care packages can go both ways. So the next tip kind of goes along with some of the other ones and how care packages made me feel better. There comes a time during the deployment, and it's usually pretty early, or at least for me it was really early on, where eventually your home kind of levels out to not feeling like a dual home anymore, and it feels like it's just you living in it. Now if you have kids it will be a little bit different, but we're just married, we don't have kids, we have Wallace, our dog counts, right? But it becomes, there comes a point where I feel like the house feels so neutral, like it doesn't feel like a house between the two of you anymore, and that for me was a really big like shift in my like mindset of being like, wait a minute, like this is both of our homes, but it just feels so overwhelmingly like me. And it got really hard for me because like I have a really strong sense of smell, and I pick up on scents really easily, and for me I noticed so quickly how the smell, like my husband's cologne didn't linger in the air anymore because obviously he wasn't there spraying it anymore. I couldn't smell his stinky boots, which I cried about in a video, but like it was so true. Like eventually the stinky boy smell was gone, and I never thought I would miss it, but I did. So it got to the point where I started occasionally, not every night because I don't want to waste the man's cologne, but like when I would feel really low and would feel that like cosmic shift almost into just my house instead of our house, I would spray his cologne on a pillow in the bed next to me. I wouldn't spray it directly on my pillow, but one to where like the smell lingered enough to where it almost felt like he was there. And I know that sounds really silly, and I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about this either, but it helped so much. I personally already have a really hard time falling asleep anyways, and just having that like comfort smell of something so familiar and so like my husband helped me so much in the beginning get through the early nights, because I feel like the early nights are really hard because you're so used to having someone sleep in the bed with you, and so just having that familiar smell for me really helped. A lot of us tie a lot of memories to scent as well, so it can be very comforting. So if you have something of your husband's or your significant other's like cologne, perfume, maybe if they use a special detergent, maybe start washing your clothes in that detergent only if you use separate ones. Anything that's tied to scent. Maybe if they have a favorite food that they used to cook a lot, maybe learn how to cook it, or just cook it more often. That way you get those smells back. And I know it sounds really silly and really weird, but I swear it helped. It helped me so much just kind of get over that little hurdle of not feeling his presence in the house anymore. So now is my 9th tip, and this is more so to do towards the end of deployment, and that is to make plans for when they return. So I'm talking about travel plans, restaurant plans, and I know this will depend on what deployment was like for you or what your PCS season was like, because for us, we moved to California right before we deployed, and this is a completely new area for both of us. Neither one of us had ever lived in California before, and because he deployed so soon after moving out, we weren't even able to go to Disneyland together. So basically, since the beginning of the deployment, I've been Googling places, I've been going and exploring on my own and finding places that I want to experience with my husband when he gets back. Because for me, knowing that we have set plans for when he gets back makes it so much easier for me. And I know this won't necessarily be the case for everyone, but for me, it gives me something to look forward to. And like, of course, I'm looking forward to like the day he returns home, but having other concrete plans already in place, like our trip to Hawaii, we've already planned, it's already paid for, it's already like ready, set to go. So like, that's something both of us have been looking forward to for a while now, because we planned it, we went ahead and we just executed the plans as soon as we could. And I think that's been such a good boost for both of us. Not only for me, because obviously like I'm excited to go to Hawaii and spend time with my husband again finally, but even for him too, because it gave him something else to think about and something else to focus on rather than just the end of deployment. Because I think over there it's just so different, the mindset that they're in. It's just so much more difficult for them because they don't have freedoms like we do, in the same sense that they can just go take a trip on the weekend, you know, like it's not the same. So for him, it just gave him a lot more to look forward to. So definitely start making plans of what you want to do when you return. And that could be anything. For us, we love to travel. We love to go and try new restaurants. So for us, that's the kind of plans we made. But if you guys are wanting to start a family, or you're wanting to add another kid to the family, or anything like that, start making those kind of plans, give you something to look forward to. Or maybe there's a park you want to go to, or there's a play that's happening. Just make some sort of plans for after deployment, not like immediately when they get home, like even a little further, because it gives you like a mindset of, okay, this is further. And I feel like that also helps, is having that mindset of, oh, we have plans out here too. And it just helps with spacing to me. And I don't know, that probably doesn't make any sense. Does that make any sense? No, I don't know if that did. But for me, it did help a lot, just having more plans out in the future. That it just made things feel more real and not so absolute, because sometimes in deployment it just feels so absolute and like this is going to be your life forever. But I promise it's not going to last forever, and it will end before you know it. So last thing, and it's an overarching tip, it's not even that good of a tip to be completely honest. Stay busy. Just stay busy. I feel like that's the overarching theme to most of this, is to make plans and stay busy in any way possible. That's the double rainbow above this situation, is just stay busy and make plans. Just don't dwell too much on just the deployment and everything about it too much. Just keep yourself busy. The days will start going by fast, and for me, what I noticed is the busier I got, the faster time went. And now that it's almost the end of our deployment, it doesn't feel like it was that long. Like, I know it was, because like I think back and I'm like, God, he was gone at Christmas, you know, stuff like that. Like, I understand it has been a long time, but I've just kept myself so busy that it was harder to think about how much time it really has. So now that it's almost the end, I can really enjoy it now and get really excited about him coming back soon, because I just stayed so busy. It didn't feel too bad in retrospect. There was definitely hard days early on and hard days mixed in between, but overall, being busy is what really, really helps. So that, guys, is my entire video. I know this was probably a long one. I feel like I talked a lot. I am inherently a storyteller and I like to talk a lot. But I hope you guys found this useful. If you have a significant other that's deployed right now, definitely let me know down in the comments what has helped you. Also, if you are someone who is about to experience another deployment or your first deployment, just know It will be fine, I promise. We all get through this. Is it tough? Yes, but military spouses are tough and we can get through this. So just don't worry about it too much. Reach out. If you are experiencing a deployment right now or about to and you need someone to reach out to, I can be your support buddy. I do not mind. I will always talk to anyone when they need to vent. So just reach out to me. My Instagram is always down in the description if you want to talk to somebody. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for all the support you've given me throughout my deployment. Throughout our deployment so far, it really has meant a lot to me and it has really helped me just kind of push through the entire thing. And I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Also, hit that subscribe button before we leave, and hopefully that means I see all of you guys in my next video. Bye!